can you give us a example of a doctor who's had a false sense of wealth?
Sure. So I talk about this idea of false sense of wealth with high income earners. It doesn't have to just be a doctor. But what they find is that they feel that because they're making a lot of money, they have a lot of cash flow, and they're buying, they buy nice cars, they eat in nice restaurants. And here in Canada, many of them incorporate, they leave money inside their corporation. So the reason why they run into a little bit of trouble is because of taxation, first of all. But also it's because they don't really realize what else was available to them. So an example that I want to give, there's two examples. One of them is a physician, of course. I won't name any names over here. He's older, though. He's now in his mid-70s.
Okay.
And when I once asked him, and I said, can you give me some advice? Because I work with a lot of doctors and I'm doing these presentations. Can you give me some advice of maybe some things you did right and maybe some things that you did wrong? And one piece of advice that he said, well, actually a couple of pieces of advice. One piece of advice was to marry the right person. And the reason why he said that is because he's divorced.
Oh.
And his income and his assets have been split. So he's got to work so much harder for just essentially half. So he said, the greatest investment I could have made actually was in my first marriage.
Right.
So that's good for just anyone's piece of advice. But a second one that he said was when he talked about not only that mistake, another mistake he had made was that a colleague of his, who's also a doctor, had approached him in the late 80s and said, I have an opportunity to buy an apartment building, and it's in downtown Vancouver.
Wow.
And then he said it's like a 60-unit building. And then he said, but the bank says I can't afford it on my own. I don't qualify on my own. But he says you can easily qualify if you had someone else making a similar income.
Okay.
So what ended up happening, so he approached him because they were friends. They were friends from medical school. And they says, if we go on this together, we could buy it. He says, well, how much is this thing? And this is late 80s now. He says, it's $1 million. It's $1 million building, and it's like 60 units in downtown Vancouver. And so he said, I don't know anything about this.
Right.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And back then, they didn't call them financial advisors; they call them stockbrokers.
Oh, yeah.
So he says, I'm going to talk to my stockbroker about this because I'm going to have to sell some stocks.
Right.
If we were to do this. And of course, what do you think the stockbroker said?
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
because the thing is, I think it would have depleted at least 60% of his stock assets in order for him to purchase this thing. And then the first doctor basically said, are you in or are you out? And he says, I'm out. I just want to practice medicine. I want to keep life simple. I don't know what I'm doing. And my stockbroker said, don't do it.
Right.
So he went to someone else. He went to a friend of his who was a dentist, actually. And they're the ones who ended up buying it together. Wow. Now let's fast forward to today.
This building's now the Shangri-La.
So it's still a rental building. I'm not going to give the address or anything like that. But he said the building's worth about $45 million.
Oh, my gosh.
It's worth about $45 million. But not only that, he said that his doctor, who's his friend, says that he retired years past. And he said that he gained something in the neighborhood of around $25,000 monthly in rent. And the building's paid off.
Right.
The building's completely paid off. So I use this as my first example of this sort of a false sense of wealth.
Right.
So this one physician that I know is actually still working in his 70s. And I asked him, do you really enjoy working? And his quick answer was, I have to work.
Right.
I didn't want to press any further than that. He says, I have to work. But if I think about, well, what was the real mistake made? And I think it was very biased advice that he was getting. There was a lack of advice. There was a lack of education. And of course, as you know, you and I are both real estate people. We think that you should buy more real estate. But the only thing is, are you getting the right advice? I'm not saying you should buy any piece of real estate.
Of course, yeah.
But if you had that correct advice, so I know with my practice over here, we kind of have this 4 quadrants in my practice. So Traditionally, absolutely. We do investments, traditional investments, and we're insurance licensed. But what makes us more unique is the planning, which is why we're fee for service. You don't have to do any insurance. You don't have to do any investments. But if you want that specialized planning, especially if it involves real estate, we're there to help you to see, is this decision that you're about to make. I know I've worked with many physicians and dentists who were buying a practice together, like a physical space together. They said, well, we have this opportunity to lease, we have this opportunity to buy. We're not sure if this is a good idea. And then me and my team can know. We're not sure how to structure it. How should we fund it? Should we cash out? Should we use a line of credit? Should we get finance it 100%? And so right away, I feel that this idea of getting specialized help is what the majority of them need, but they also need it non-biased specialized help. And that could help to see, do you actually have as much wealth as you think you have, or is there another strategy out there? How to contact us. We work primarily with individuals and companies across Canada based on a fee-for-service model. If you are interested in learning more about working with us, we look forward to connecting with you. Please visit our website at www.latitude-west.ca.